This is Matthew Lauritsen. I've been walking with Jesus for about 10 years. And today we want to look at a section of Mark in chapter 11. The text is from verse 12 to verse 33, but I want to focus our attention on verses 15 through 19. To set the stage, this is Monday of the most important week in human history. And what Jesus is about to do is what some people would call like a really bad case of the Mondays. But when we look closer at the story, it really is cool to see why Jesus is so passionate and angry in the story. We get a good glimpse into God's heart and value system. And the big idea is that God will not stand for people hindering outsiders from coming to him. Let's look at chapter 11, verses 15 through 19. I'll read it. And they came to Jerusalem, and he entered the temple and began to drive out those who sold and those who bought in the temple. And he overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold pigeons. And he would not allow anyone to carry anything through the temple. And he was teaching them and saying to them, "Is it not written, 'My house shall be called a house of prayer for all the nations'? But you have made it into a den of robbers." And the chief priests and scribes heard it and were seeking a way to destroy him. For they feared him, because all the crowd was astonished at his teaching. And when evening came, they went out of the city. Put yourself in the story. Your reaction might be like theirs. And just an onlooker. Did that just happen? I mean, the painting of Jesus with two lambs on both shoulders and a dozen toddlers tugging at his long flowing robe is accurate, but it's incomplete when you take into account just how tenacious he is about his Father's purposes. Jesus just walked into the temple on one of the busiest days of the year, turned tables over, shut the whole place down, and had people ready to kill him. Jews from all over the region would come to Jerusalem to make sacrifices at the temple, and this was happening during a festival for the Jews called the Passover, and it became common practice for people to sell animals at the temple for the people then to sacrifice to God at the temple. So why does Jesus literally flip out on this one? This marketplace of sorts was held in the outer portion of the temple, which is known as the court of the Gentiles. This was what the Old Testament designated as a place for foreigners, for aliens, kind of the marginalized, where they came and approached God in prayer. Jesus obviously saw this as a special place, but it's now bustling with opportunists and people wanting to make a buck. And so Jesus goes back to the Old Testament, Isaiah 56, 6 through 8, and Jeremiah 7, verse 11, to illustrate that that's not what God wanted. God wanted the alien and the foreigner to come to him. If you want to see something that flares up the heart of God, put up barriers for people trying to come to him, especially people who are outsiders and misfits. And Jesus perfectly reflects this passion for people and a no-nonsense attitude towards people who would try to get in the way. This is why it matters for you and me. As followers of Jesus, there's no higher aim than becoming like Jesus himself. To love what he loves, hate what he hates, and to do what he does. And it's clear in this story that Jesus wants a clear path for the marginalized people of the world to come to the Father. Do we long for people to come to the Lord? What causes us to flare up and be frustrated? Obstacles in our way toward a peaceful life, or obstacles in the way of other people coming to God. Praise Jesus for being the ultimate and passionate defender of people. The misfits, the outcasts, foreigners, you, me. Jesus has made a clear path to God for all of us through the cross. Let's accept that road and work to keep the way clear for others. This is Matthew Lauritsen for New City Church, helping people know, love, and follow the Jesus who is willing to flip tables for us.